tip is about you giving yourself your own chipping lesson. Now, it's not easy to do that on a long full swing, obviously, a little bit harder. Even the pros find it really hard to give themselves a proper golf lesson with a full swing. But on a short shot, like a chip shot, which is basically the shortest shot you'll really hit in the golf swing, you can, because there's not a lot that happens during a chip shot, or there's not a lot that should happen. Should be fairly simple. So if a lot is happening for you in a chip shot, then maybe that is where we're going wrong. So we're going to go through some basic stuff, and I'm going to compare you to a pro that I'm going to compare our lady here to a pro that I found online. So now this lady here came recently to a golf school, my 4-day short game school that I do about once a month or so up in Cypress Lakes, which is a golf resort 2 hours drive north of Sydney. Beautiful spot, beautiful practice facilities, kangaroos, gorgeous restaurant, and it's in amongst the wineries. So really wonderful food up there. So we really enjoy ourselves when we go up there. But really good way to get your short game sorted as well. And we video you for all your short stuff and talk about it, because it's so much more helpful to see it for yourself. It's one thing for you to be told what you're doing wrong or what you think you're doing wrong or what it feels like, but to actually see it for yourself can be quite a whole lot different and very helpful. Feel is not real, as they say in the golf coaching industry. So what you think you might be doing, what it feels like you're doing, may not be the case. So for you to see it for yourself is really, really helpful. So we do that when we're up there at the golf school. So hopefully you can come along to one if you need help with your short game. So let's see if you can give yourself a chipping lesson. Now, chipping, obviously, such a short little shot, not too much that can go wrong. It's the one where you're going to just bump it up onto the green and let it run. So it's the one where you're a little bit too far off to putt, looking at sort of an 8-iron or a 9-iron. 8-iron if the greens are fairly big and you've got plenty of room for it to run. 9-iron if your greens are a bit smaller, or if you've got really fast greens, a 9-iron is good. But what I often suggest to people is just pick one club for chipping. Not everybody teaches that, I realise that. Some golf pros teach to mix up your clubs and use all the different clubs for chipping and land it in the same spot, and they'll all run different distances. I just find that takes a bit more practice. That can suit people. They quite like that concept, but I find that if you just pick one club for your chipping, say it's a 9-iron, say it's an 8-iron, whatever it is, you might have to vary up the length of the swing a little bit, but not much, because it's a fairly specific shot anyway. And also you're going to know how much run you're going to get with it. You're going to get used to that, especially if it's a your own course where you know pretty much the greens how fast they are. One club for chipping, you know what it's going to do. That's my suggestion, but as I said, there's a couple of different schools of thought on that. So whatever suits you or whatever kind of resonates best with you, go with. But the technique is the same, whatever sort of strategy system that you use. And we talk a lot about that on the school. We're going to give you some step-by-step systems to know when to chip, when to pitch, what's the difference, how to choose your clubs, and give you a really easy way to work it out. So you're not guessing, am I even doing the right thing here? You're going to have a really easy way to know, and your chipping and pitching will improve out of sight and you will never look back. All right, so let's have a look at our lady here. Now, her setup position, I'll just get her ready to go here. Yeah, there she is. So she's leaning a little bit on her front foot, which is what you want. About 60%, 40%, let's say, something like that, even 55, 45. It doesn't have to be a lot. Her ball position is around about middle. Now, some people teach very narrow stance and ball back, which is fine, but I don't think you really need to. If that feels more comfortable for you, that's fine too. Narrow stance means it's easier to get your weight across. So if you struggle to feel that weight onto the front foot, then you can narrow your stance up a little bit. And ball back will make the ball come out lower. And now if you've already got an 8 and you move the ball back, you're kind of turning it into a 7 or a 6. So it comes out too low sometimes. If you move the ball forward, it's going to go higher. So you're turning an 8 into a 9-iron or a pitching wedge. Plus, you're more likely to miss hit when you move it forward. Not so much moving it back, but people do suggest moving it back, but that's often to get it to go lower, but we've already got a club that's going to go low. So I suggest keep it really simple. Don't even worry about narrowing your stance unless you really want to. Normal stance, ball in the middle, that's less to remember. So that's my kind of way of thinking. So that's what this lady here has got. Let's have a look and see how she takes the club back here. Alrighty, so looks okay. Let me bring up my Golf Pro. Now I've found Danny Maud, who is a YouTuber. You might have heard of him. All right, here we are. So I've got Danny Maud here, who is a YouTuber, as I said. Go and check out his channel. He's got loads of great tips. It's very engaging, easy to watch. So now have a look here at the difference between, let me see. Okay, yeah. So they're a similar length backswing. He might be doing a slightly longer chip, but the backswing lengths are roughly the same here. Now you can see he has got that narrow stance. His ball is in the middle roughly. But what I'm seeing is the difference here that's so important. It might look a bit subtle to you, but it's very important, is that his shoulders have turned more than our lady has here. Now this is what can happen. This is a big mistake people make. On a short shot, people think, it's only little, I don't need to use my body, I'll just use my hands and arms. And of course, that's where people go wrong. They start getting a bit pokey, and you might duff it, you might scull it, and then they try and scoop it up and get the arms and the hands doing the work. So as soon as the arms and the hands separate away from the shoulders and the top half, that's when you're going to get some inconsistency. Now, it doesn't look like our lady here has done it very much, but her top half is still kind of facing towards us, whereas Danny's has turned a bit more. Now, it is subtle, but it's definitely a difference. So our lady's almost kind of going a little bit like this. I'm going to exaggerate. Maybe you can't see me there. She's kind of taking her arms a bit like this, as opposed to moving the shoulders like that. And I've very much exaggerated that there, but essentially that's what's happening. So her body's not really moving, but her arms are kind of swishing across in front of her. Only a little bit, but enough to make her inconsistent. Okay, so let's go through to impact. All right, you can see here we've got our two impact positions. They don't look too dissimilar, except I'd probably prefer our lady to be a little bit more onto that front foot. Like if she was turning through, then she would have that weight moving a little bit more onto the front foot. She's pretty good, nice straight arm, a little bit bent here, not too much. You can see Danny's a little bit straighter down the left arm and down the club. She's got a bit more of an angle here, not a great deal, but a little bit. But her chipping was reasonably good, this lady. And then the next, okay, so you can see here that Danny's turned his top half through quite well, and our lady has as well, but not as much. And then what you'll also see is our lady continuing on right up to the top here, which we don't need with a chip shot. And it's, if anything, it's going to kind of bring the club up over the top of the ball if you do it a little bit early. So we just want to finish nice and low like this with a chip. We don't need a high follow through coming through the shot at all. It's not necessary. So in a nutshell, for your chipping, get your setup right, weight onto your front, ball position around about middle. You can narrow your stance if that feels comfortable. Get the shoulders doing the work, not too much hands and wrists. Don't break the hands and wrists. Don't let them come away and do the work on their own. Connect it all up. There's that old-fashioned chip where you put something under your armpits like a glove or a towel, and keep it there as you practice your chipping and your pitching, and that'll help you keep everything connected. Don't try and lift the ball up. Focus on brushing the grass underneath the ball. Sometimes if you're topping a lot and you're focusing on the top of the ball, really helpful to focus on the bottom of the ball. In fact, forget the ball and try and brush the grass underneath the ball. So hopefully that will help you with your chipping, and you can give yourself a lesson. Take a video, pop it up here. You can put yourself next to Danny Maud if you want to, or you don't even need to. Just make sure your positions are nice and firm. No wrist break too much. Shoulders doing the work. Brush the grass, and it should be right for your chipping. So hopefully, if not, you can come and see me. 4-day golf school, 4-day short game school. I run them all the time. Go to fixmygolfswing.com.au and you'll see all the information there. So hopefully I'll see you there one day. Bye.